Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's MMA Cycles Market Update. This is Gianni DePoce, and it is great, as always, to be with you all. What a week we just had. It was a very volatile week across many markets. We saw volatility in stocks, commodities, currencies, cryptocurrencies, and the big highlights in terms of aspects from the past week, they were rather benign or calm in terms of aspects, but they led to major developments. We had the Venus and Mars Sextile to Neptune on Wednesday and Thursday that coincided with a Russian attack and invasion on Ukraine that was launched on Wednesday evening. That sent equity markets into a free fall. And what's particularly interesting about this time is that the moon was in Sagittarius. And the moon in Sagittarius has a tendency to exhibit wide volatility, powerful emotions, exaggeration, and that's exactly what we saw in stocks. The NASDAQ suffered a 7% price swing on Wednesday. It was down over 3.5% at one point, but then finished up around that much. So let's go ahead and look at some charts and see, get a better picture what went on. So this is what I was talking about, this big drop that we saw. We're actually looking at the S&P 500 daily chart here. We had a almost a 3% drop in the S&P, but then we ended up closing up a little bit more on that day. And what's interesting about that too is on that Thursday, we had an aspect between Mercury and Uranus, a square aspect, and both of those planets have rulership over technology to an extent. And we saw technology lead the day. Technology has led the market lower during this pullback that we've seen that's been unfolding since the beginning of this year, or the end of last year, depending on which index you look at. The NASDAQ topped out at the end of last year, but that was an interesting reversal that we saw with Mercury and Uranus, because the NASDAQ led the market higher, and that usually is a good sign, but still too early to know whether this was the final low. If you want to know, we would encourage you to check out our website, MMAcycles.com, where we have a variety of reports that explain that in further detail. I also want to look at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin especially, because Bitcoin also had a wide price move, but that was more on Thursday compared to Wednesday. So what's interesting here is that Bitcoin and Ethereum did not take out those lows from earlier this year in late January. So, but there still are some technical issues on this stock that we won't get into today. But the volatility that we saw in Bitcoin as well was when the moon was in Sagittarius. So, that was the sun's in Pisces, the moon's in Sagittarius. So that's that double mutable energy. So a lot of high emotions, changing the emotions. There's a lot of bearishness now, a lot of fear. In hindsight, that was the predominant sentiment that we saw in equity markets this past week. I also want to look at crude oil because what's interesting here is that we had the moon in Sagittarius, and that's when we saw crude oil rally over $100 per barrel for the first time since 2014. And the two planets that rule crude oil are Jupiter and Neptune. So not only did we have a sextile between Venus and Neptune and Mars and Neptune, so that's one planet that rules crude oil, being Neptune, but we also had the moon transiting through the sign of Sagittarius. The planet that rules Sagittarius is Jupiter. So we had a lot of energy from signs and planets that rule crude oil, and we saw a very powerful explosive rally, but a sharp reversal back down lower that happened, which is totally in alignment with a Sagittarius type of move, right? It's a blow off move higher and then a sharp reversal lower. That's that mutable element that we mentioned as well. So that's what we saw in crude oil. I also want to look at wheat because we know that Venus rules the grain market. Wheat hit a 10-year high, but then we saw the overnight session high on Friday. We reversed back lower. That was what was that? One day after the Venus Neptune sextile rather. So wheat had a big move, hit a 10-year high, but then reversed back down sharply to close in the middle of the week's range. And then I also want to look at precious metals because gold rallied to its highest level since September 2020, which was a significant development, but it too was slammed back down lower. There seems to be a lot of overreaction to the geopolitical tension. Stocks were already trending lower before the invasion happened, but it's too early to tell whether this will be a buy the rumor, sell the news. But like I said, check out our reports at www.mmacycles.com if you would like to learn more. So I also want to take a moment to highlight some of the aspects coming for the week ahead. I'm calling it the week of the conjunctions, because if you look at the upcoming week, the first week of March, it's a week that's filled with many conjunctions. The first one that happens is a new moon, and it's happening in the sign of Pisces. And what's of interest, of particular interest with this new moon, is that it's in Pisces, which is where Jupiter and Neptune both are currently. And we know that Jupiter and Neptune both rule crude oil. So I would expect crude oil, natural gas, other fossil fuel or markets related to crude oil, maybe more inflation headlines as well, to be a big theme next week as well. And we also have the Venus and Mars simultaneously conjuncting, forming a conjunction with Pluto on March 3rd. And so again, what's interesting is that you see a lot of these Venus aspects, Mars aspects. Venus is a planet of negotiations and peace. It rules grains. We're seeing a lot of moves in those markets. But Mars, one element that's neglected with Mars, not just because of its correlation to war and aggression, but it also rules steel and mining. And we're seeing a lot of big moves in steel sectors, in stocks related to steel, and a lot of mining stocks too. So we'll keep an eye on that for the week ahead. And then we round off the week with the Sun conjunct Jupiter on March 4th. And then that Sunday, about 9 days from now, we will have the Venus-Mars conjunction, the same day they ingress into Aquarius at 0 degrees, the same place that the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn unfolded about a year and a half ago or so. So that's pretty much what the cosmos have in store for us for the week ahead. I do have a couple announcements I want to share with you as well. First and foremost, check us out at www.mmacycles.com if you want to see what's going on across various stock markets or commodity markets or cryptocurrency markets. We have multiple reports to cater to your needs. We also will have a special report that will be sent out to all subscribers of MMA Reports, as well as those who purchased the webinar, which Ray conducted last week. So Ray is going to be doing a special stock market update that will be sent out this Monday, February 28th in the evening. So again, if you are a subscriber to MMA Reports, or if you participated in the webinar last Sunday, you will be receiving this. If you wish to receive it, you can visit the website, mmacycles.com, and either purchase the webinar recording or purchase the subscription, and you will receive this special report on Monday evening as well. I also want to let you all know that Ray Merriman will be joining me back here again next week. Ray's going to be joining us the first week, or the first day after each new moon. So we have the new moon next Wednesday. So Ray will be joining us in next week's video update as well. And then we will have an update from MMTA student Puyan Zulfargania. He will be publishing the MMA monthly addendum report on Monday, March 7th. So stay tuned for that. You can check out that subscription at mmacycles.com as well. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to send us a note, customer service at mmacycles.com, or drop a note in the comments. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we will catch you in the next one. Thank you.